Hey everyone, it's September 29th, and that means that if today's your birthday, you share with English serial killer Fred West, who along with his wife tortured and murdered at least a dozen young women over a span of 20 years, beginning in 1967. And that is him right up there. Born in Hertfordshire in 1941, West grew up in post-war Britain in a cottage with no electricity as the oldest surviving child of poor farm workers. His 5 siblings all worked as farmhands, but as he grew older, West developed a habit of petty theft. Often in trouble at school, he was a poor student, being barely literate and dropping out at the age of 15. In later interviews, he claimed his family engaged in incestuous relationships and acts of bestiality with farm animals. At the age of 17, West crashed a motorcycle and ended up in a coma, then suffered a head injury when a girl he grew up knocked him down a flight of stairs. In 1961, he was arrested for molesting his 13-year-old sister. He admitted that he had been abusing young girls since he was 13 and asked, "Doesn't everybody do it?" His sister refused to testify, so he wasn't convicted, but most of his family disowned him. He entered a marriage filled with affairs and domestic violence by both participants, and often kept his daughters locked up in their bunk bed, but that was the least of his bad behavior. West killed for the first time in 1965, though that was just an accident when he ran over a child in Glasgow. After a love triangle with enough ups and downs that it could fill a 3-minute video all on its own, he found himself divorced with 3 children, and his intentional killing began. In 1967, West's lover became pregnant, and she disappeared just 1 month before she was due to deliver. Her remains weren't found until 1994, but when her body was discovered, coroners revealed that her limbs had been severed and that the fetus had been cut out of her womb. In 1969, the 28-year-old West met and began dating a 15-year-old girl after hiring her as his nanny. Her parents were repulsed by the idea and placed her in a home for troubled youth, but she left when she was 16 and moved in with West, quickly becoming pregnant. Often beating the children in her care, she killed one of his daughters in 1971, shortly after taking the children to visit West while he was serving time in jail for theft. He buried the body in the backyard when he was released. When his ex-wife showed up, West strangled her in the backseat of his car before dismembering her and burying the pieces in a field. In 1972, West married his young lover and purchased a home, renting out the upstairs bedrooms to lodgers. The two had another child, after which his new wife began a career of prostitution, advertising in a local magazine that no man or woman could satisfy her. The couple were tried for sexual assault of a nanny, but a plea was accepted allowing West to just pay a small fine. Their victim committed suicide upon hearing the result. 3 months later, West and his wife began a murder spree, beginning by torturing and killing a woman who was engaged in relationships with 2 of their lodgers. They suspended their victim by ropes from the ceiling while sexually assaulting and suffocating her. Her body was dismembered and left in the cellar, and these acts were repeated at least 9 more times between 1973 and 1979. In 1992, West filmed himself sexually assaulting one of his daughters, and when she reported it at school, an investigation was launched. The crimes of the couple were finally revealed, and in 1994, West and his wife were charged with murder when authorities found the remains of more than a dozen young women in their basement. He confessed to killing more than 30 people, then hanged himself in his cell, believing that doing so would allow his wife to walk free. What a romantic. Despite his efforts, she was convicted of 10 murders and sentenced to life in prison, where she remains to this day. It is suspected that their murders and abuses continued all the way until their capture, but with West's death, it's unlikely any more will ever be definitively tied to the couple. If this is your birthday, I hope you have a great day. Leave me a comment so I can wish you a happy birthday. If you know someone whose birthday it is today, send them this video so they can find out all about their birthday twin. And to Fred West, I say, happy birthday, you bastard.